With the Ahsoka series finale streaming today, I figured this would be a great time to review the Ahsoka LEGO Star Wars playsets, kindly provided by LEGO for this video. The review may contain minor spoilers, so here's your warning. There's the New Republic E-Wing vs Shin Hati's Starfighter, Ahsoka Tano's T6 Jedi Shuttle, and the Ghost and Phantom 2. The first set features 5 minifigures, Captain Porter and an astromech droid, briefly seen on episode 1 as a means to justify the E-Wing that was also only featured in the first episode of the show, and never seen fighting against Shin Hati's Starfighter, so there's that. Porter comes with a secondary faceprint, an alternate airpiece for when he's not flying after Sabine. The other 3 characters turned minifigures have a lot more screen time and make for obvious inclusions. Morgan Elsbeth being the first, matching the on-screen character quite well, and as an alternate expression. Baylan Skoll also has a secondary faceprint, though I feel he should have had a cape element to better match some of his show appearances. And finally Shin Hati, who could have also used a cape and maybe a lighter colored hairpiece. I find her to be the least screen accurate out of all of these. Her Starfighter on the other hand looks great when compared to the source material. Maybe a bit too colorful with the use of the dark red and bright light orange pieces, but still works. The use of stickers will be a common theme with these 3 LEGO sets, but needed for some added texture and detail, though the windscreen is fortunately printed. Plenty of space inside for the pilot, and another windscreen dark red colored element in the back can be lifted to store her lightsaber. There's this laser section that can be lifted with some empty space that doesn't make all that much sense, and under it extra room for a minifigure blaster. To the sides there's stud shooters for some extra play, and the whole ship is quite sturdy and swooshable. While these ships are never seen fighting against each other in the show, together make for a great playset with lots of value for kids, exactly the same vibe of the Mandalorian Fang Fighter vs TIE Interceptor set, which again are never seen fighting against each other in the Mandalorian show, but that's not an issue for me. The E-Wing is a lot more sticker heavy in comparison, but like Shin's Starfighter also has the printed windscreen element, and room for storage in this one can actually be found under the pilot's seat to store his blaster or the extra studs for the stud shooters. Behind the cockpit there's room for the astromech droid that sits sideways as opposed to front facing due to space limitations, and on this one the building techniques that allowed the wings to be locked at an angle as well as the front nose of the spacecraft were really interesting to see taking shape. This one has foldable landing gear for some extra play, which is great to see. So while this set has some questionable character and spacecraft choices due to low screen time, the end result makes for a great playset that kids will enjoy for sure, and collectors just the same, hoping to get some of the show's most prominent characters in a single box. Priced at $105 for a piece count of little over 1,000 pieces feels surprisingly fair, considering we're talking about a LEGO theme known for questionable pricing. A fine example of that being Ahsoka Tano's T6 Jedi Shuttle, that only has 600 pieces for a price of $80, which is way too much for what you get out of it. Minifigure selection is undeniably great though, starting with Marok and his double-bladed lightsaber. The hilt can be clipped onto the back of his chest piece, and most elements of this minifigure are of this cool dark pearl color, and under the helmet there's only a plain black minifigure head element. Next up is Hu Yang, which feels kinda hot to me due to the use of regular minifigure body parts as opposed to having custom droid elements like it has been done in the past for LEGO Star Wars droid characters. He did get a custom head element with some nice detailed prints, as is the case with most of his body parts. Sabine Wren is instantly recognizable with her purple hairpiece. She has double-sided head print, both lightsaber and dual blasters at her disposal, and her Mandalorian helmet. The star of the show though is Ahsoka Tano, wielding her white lightsabers, still featuring the regular lightsaber hilt element sadly. LEGO should be working on a new one that better matches the screen reference, I think. It is however the most detailed minifigure out of the 3 sets, with dual head print, feet printing and the extra arm prints. It's the only Ahsoka minifigure currently in production, so if you want her, this is the set to get. Her shuttle isn't as impressive in my opinion, though it does have the spinning wing feature as seen in the show, with a major downside in design being the fact that the wing patterns weren't mirrored on both sides, so if you spin the wing too much you'll be left with this unimpressive grey anti-studded surface. It's quite the massive ship in this show, but the LEGO version cockpit only has room for one passenger, which again feels lackluster. And like the previously featured windscreens, this one's printed as well, but the set does include its fair share of stickers for details. The thrusters in the back look good though, and there's even the back turbo laser station, micro scale though and obviously not fitting for a minifigure. There's two storage spaces on the sides of the ship for blasters, Ahsoka's lightsabers and Du Yang's wrench to fix the shuttle. If I had to choose between these two sets, I would probably go for the E-Wing vs Chin Starfighter. Despite costing $20 more, it packs a lot more value I think, though you wouldn't be getting yourself the Ahsoka minifigure, so there's some clear pros and cons to be had. Now, the final set of the Ahsoka Star Wars sub-theme, so to speak, is the Ghost and Phantom 2, and while not being the best deal out there, priced at $160 for 1,400 pieces, feels easier to digest when compared to Ahsoka Tano's T6 Jedi Shuttle or the infamous Justifier from last year. Its iconicness and popularity due to this show but also Rebels might help some people pull the trigger, though it features two relatively minor show characters when compared to the other three included in this set. The first one being Lieutenant Beta, with very brief appearances on screen, same with Vic Hawkins. Their uniforms are quite unique, so there might be some demand for these minifigures on the secondary market. Which brings us to fan favorite droid Chopper with a decent amount of detail with front and back printing, Jason Syndulla with dual printed head element but no green hair as seen in the show, which feels like a significant miss, and finally his mother, Hera Syndulla, with great detailing in her minifigure parts, especially the head helmet with a few extra prints for the goggles, head tails, and also featuring dual expression head. Now with the minifigures out of the way, let's dive into the spacecrafts, which look great combined, almost seamlessly you might say if you don't know what you're looking for, namely the Phantom 2, blending in quite well above Ghost's thrusters. The connection is quite sturdy, so you probably won't make it fall if you're swooshing around with the Ghost. And as you're probably noticing, this one is quite sticker heavy. There's 9 different ones in this build alone, which wasn't all that fun to do. The shaping of the ship, however, is quite fun with clever piece usage for some roundness towards the top wing and the area surrounding the cockpit. It opens like so, revealing that the side shapes aren't locked in position and can move, which isn't perfect in my eyes, but not terrible, and towards the back the container holds some goggles and a blaster for our characters to use. Now back to the Ghost, I gotta say it looks incredible. From a building technique standpoint, I can always appreciate when angled ships such as these blend angled surfaces well without revealing many gaps in the hull, and this one here is a fine example of such LEGO craftsmanship. I'm specifically speaking about these 4 angled sections when seen from above at least. Not as impressive if you turn it upside down, which is understandable. The screen version looks a lot more grey than the LEGO model's white main color, which I'm fine with as it makes for a much more visually appealing model, with some splashes of color with the sand green, sand blue, light orange and red elements. I like the builds for the side hatches, below which we can find the loading hatches that lead to the ship's interior. Barely. To access it, you'll need to remove this whole top section where a minifigure can sit to man the turrets. Considering the size of the ship, I was kind of impressed by the lack of interior space. All of the area on the sides exists just to support the angled builds, which feels a bit of a shame. Not a whole lot to speak about the interior, except towards the front where the pilots take their places, one up here and another in the lower seating position that you access by detaching this section from the front. The domed element is printed, but the canopy-shaped one is decorated with the use of a sticker. All of the 4 glass elements of the set, so to speak, feature a new transparent color not widely seen in LEGO sets yet, and you may be able to tell the difference in colors when you have them next to old dark transparent pieces. There is a hidden play feature with this model that allows us to trigger the spring-loaded shooter elements underneath the ship by sliding the simple mechanism sideways. The mechanism is also connected to the front turrets, making them move sideways, which makes it a bit more fun. I really like how these 3 sets alone cover most of the characters and spacecrafts from the show, though there's room for more as we're obviously missing Ezra and Thrawn on the character side of things. I do have one from the 2017 Phantom set, but it's only natural that LEGO makes another version of him in some future Star Wars product, given how Ahsoka feels like such a popular show, which I'm hoping will return for a season 2. My favorite of the 3 sets is the E-Wing vs Chin Starfighter, followed by the Ghost, and lastly Ahsoka's T6 shuttle in terms of the models themselves, play features and value for your money. But in terms of minifigures, the T6 shuttle set wins it by a mile, as it's your only chance of getting Ahsoka at the moment, with Sabine, Ouyang and Marok serving as very cool extras. But that price really hurts to see, so if I were you, I would probably wait for a discount of some sort before getting this.